Welcome back. We are going to do our second block in our Spinifex alternative. And what I have done here, first off, I want you to know we're using Spinifex number 3. And Spinifex 3 is kind of an odd shape, but it's a fun shape to work with. It's not a difficult shape at all to work with. So what I've done is I have my 11-inch block. I have 16 reference lines, and I did number the 16 reference lines. I am going to start by showing you this upside down. So this is line number 1, this is line number 2, number 3, and so forth. So I have gone ahead and put staple tape on both sides of my template. We are going to be flipping the template back and forth. So let's go ahead and do the first rotation. The first rotation we're going to do is we are going to use our 7.5-inch template. We are going to line up our crosshair line on line 2, not on line 1, on line 2. So I'm going to go ahead, take a stitch in place so that I don't have any toe catchers, and off we go. Now when we're using curved shapes such as this, what we want to do is we want to make a shorter stitch length. And if you've been watching these videos, I have definitely talked about shorter stitch length on any curved type template. And what that will do is that will give the illusion of that curve being much smoother. Our machines only stitch in a straight line, so if we want them to appear to be curved, what we need to do is take smaller stitches, and that will work. And it looks like I've got some flagging going on here. I'm going to need to adjust my foot. Yeah, this happens to everybody. It's not just to you guys. It happens to us as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull that foot down just a hair here. There we go. And we are going to tighten that up. Now, I did test this out, but my batting could just be squished a little bit in that area, which would give it a little less loft. I'm going to take my template out. I'm going to flip it over. I'm now down back in the center of the block. And this is another one of those that we can come in and trim this thread off. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this back around. Again, this is number 1 reference line. This is number 2 reference line. We lined up that template on the number 2 reference line. So we're going to make the second half. This is a 2-part design. We're going to make the second half by lining our center line up on line number 16. And so the point is going to go in here towards the line number 1. Okay, now let's see. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay, again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch a whole rotation of this template. Lining it up on line number 16. We have a reference line 1 here, but we're not using it. I go ahead and if I'm going to be making 16 reference lines, I go ahead and make all 16. You know, it's okay to skip some of them. Okay, so here's what we have here, and it reminds me of a collar on a dress. I'm not really sure why, but it does. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to line number 3. Okay, and on line number 3, I'm going to line up my center line, get that extra thread out of the way, and right now it points to the left. And that's perfectly fine. We're going to flip it over anyway. And we're going to stitch a complete rotation. Again, this is line number 3, which goes into the corner of our block. All the way around. And stopping back in the center. Now I want to again take my template out. If you're one of the fortunate ones that has a newer set, you don't have the gates, you have a needle channel. And I'm telling you, the needle channels are so much easier than the gates. I just can't afford to replace all my templates that have the gates. They are handy. They're not all that difficult to use, really. I just think that the needle channels are so much nicer. Okay, so now I have flipped my template over and I am again lining it up on line 3. We're going to make 2 rotations utilizing line 3. So here we go. Now our pointy outside is pointing to the right. We just did a rotation of it. We're pointing to the left. Now it's pointing to the right. Don't forget to take 1 extra stitch when you get to the very tip of the template. That's what's going to give you a really cool, nice, pointy tip. And back to our center. Okay, so what we have done is this is a complete design. It's made up of 2 separate areas. And this would be the one on line 2 and line 16. That's one complete design. And then on line 3 is a second complete design. So we're going to do what we did right here. We're going to do this 3 more times. I'm going to do one for you. And I'm going to go ahead and put, I don't know if I'm on the right side up or upside down. Okay, there we go. Oh, you know what? These things are so much fun. They really are. Sometimes I just get like the absent-minded professor and I just get disheveled here with where I'm at. So now what I've done is, remember on the first motif that we did, not the first rotation, the first motif. And I use motif as a complete design, which these 2 rotations equals 1 complete design. We lined ourselves up on line 16 for this one. So we are going to line ourselves up on line 4 for the one that comes from the right. And I'm just going to take that stitch in place, and around we go. You probably noticed I am not using my Singer 301 today. As much as I love it, there are days when I have my other machine out, and so I just use that machine because I'm too lazy to go and get the Singer 301 out and change everything. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this thread from the center because we're going to be going over it enough times that it will be tied off. Okay, back to the center. So now I'm going to remove my gate, flip my template, put the gate back in, and now I'm going to line it up on line 6. I'm going to line up the center on line 6 and around one more time. Now this is the second rotation on this motif. Don't forget that extra stitch, and all you need is one extra stitch. If you make two, it's not a big deal. You don't want to hesitate there though, because if you have too many stitches, it's going to give you a thread ball on the back side. And because this is a quilt as you go, we want it to be as pretty on the back as it is on the front. Okay, so now I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, line 7. And on line 7, we're going to be doing both rotations. So I'm going to go ahead and not flip my template yet. I'll wait to do that because it's easier. We're going to make 2 rotations here, one pointing to the right and one pointing to the left. And that is going to be a complete motif. So we will have to do what we are doing right now 2 more times, and we will have our entire block done. Well, not done. We'll have the inside motif done because I have a little something special that we're going to do with this block. It's a little different than what we've done with most blocks. I think you'll like it. It's not difficult to do. Okay, and over to the front. And I did not flip. There we go. There. Okay, again, lining my center line up on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On line 7, we're going to place our second rotation in here, which will complete this second motif, which consists of 4 rotations. Go. On. And we're going to end up back in the center. Okay, we're going to just keep going, and I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do all of these rotations again and again. You can definitely see the pattern forming here. I think it reminds me of a water lily. I'm not really sure why, but it does. I'm going to go ahead and do the next 2 motifs, and I will meet you back here. Okay, we've got our block finished. I'm really pleased with how it looks. Let's move it up here a little bit so you can get the full impact, hopefully. And there it is. You can see we've got our little red light here in the way too. So what you can see is that we have everything stitched out on here. So next what we're going to do, this is going to be a little bit different than what we've done with the other blocks. What I'm going to do is I am going to draw out a 9-inch square. Now what that means is I'm going 4.5 inches from the vertical and the horizontal center lines that we have, and I will only go to the 45-degree lines because that's exactly where they should meet. Okay, I'm going to draw this in for 2 reasons. One is that I do not have a ruler that's wide enough to put on here. And second, I want it to be more visible for you to see what exactly we are doing here. So I'm going to come around here, and I'm going to make this square around the entire block. Whoops, there we go. This off just a little bit. Now remember, in order for us to make this square 9 inches, which is what we're looking for, and that's going to be the finished size because we are going to cut these to 9.25 inches, or 9.5 inches, I'm sorry, and then they should finish out at 9 inches when we have taken into account our seam allowance. Okay, so there we've got, hope you can see that well, we've got a line around here. So let me show you what we are going to do. First thing I'm going to get out is my 12-inch arc. If you have a longer ruler, you're certainly welcome to use that. I'm going to go ahead and start just in the middle here. I'm going to move you back so you can see. Make sure that we're nice and focused. I'm going to pull my thread up anywhere. I'm not going to go in the corner though. I don't like starting in the corner, and the reason being is if you get off at all, it's very awkward. But when we've got this whole span of space here, you can easily kind of fudge it back to where it belongs without it being really overly noticeable. So I'm just going to pull my thread up here. Okay, there we go. Just going to hang on to it. I'm going to put my needle back down where my bobbin thread comes to the surface. I am now going to put my 4-inch arc, and I'm going to use my spacing gauge to ensure that I am not getting wampus like this. I want to be straight down 1/4 of an inch, and it looks really good. So we're just going to go ahead and do that one stitch in place so that I avoid toe catchers. And we're just going to go around until we get to the corner. And this is where we're going to use our 3.5-inch template. Okay, I'm just going to stop. There we go, perfect. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my 3.5-inch template. And this tape is just a little bit sticky to begin with, but after you use it a couple of times, it becomes a lot easier. There we go. Now I am going to line my center line up here. Don't forget that one extra stitch on the top there. We're going to come back down and stop in the corner. I am going to now flip my template over. Oh, Tippy is talking to the neighbor dogs outside. And then we're just going to do another rotation. And back to the corner. And I'm going to take my template off. There we go. Oh, goodness. You see the advantage to the needle channel, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is find my 12-inch arc. And I'm going to stitch a straight line down to the next corner. And I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. Okay. Use my spacing gauge. You definitely want to use that spacing gauge to make sure that you stay nice and straight. There we go. To the next corner. I will do this one more time for you. There we go. Again, lining of the center of the template. Doesn't matter which direction you go first. We're going to be going both directions anyway, so whichever way that your gate is on, if you are still using one with a gate. Now we're going to take it off. We're going to turn it over. And remember, we have to turn the gate key over when we turn the template over, because they are made to fit in here on one side only. another rotation, and finish up the template on, or the motif on this corner, and off we go. And we're just going to keep doing that until we come to the end of our block. So I will be back with you shortly. Okay, here we are. We're just finishing up. We got our motifs in all four corners. I'm just closing up the square. And when we're done, the square is basically going to be the stitching line for where we put our blocks together. So there we go. Just took a few micro stitches there, and I can go ahead and trim that thread off. And we'll lift our camera up so you can see the completed block. And there it is. Very happy with the way that this block turned out. It's got some unexpected elements in here with the square and the little motifs in each corner, and of course the two different motifs inside of, or the two different rotations inside of each of the motifs. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please do me a favor, like, comment, share. Let me know how things are going. You can subscribe, of course. And I hope you come back to see the next template we're going to use. And I believe it's going to be template number 4. And until then, let's quilt.